everybody, it's EK from EK Gorman Designs, and I am sinking in today with the third installment of the 5 fast cards featuring the White Rose Crafts March Blue Sky subscription kit. Yes, I got it all in without stuttering. For my first card, I am using one of the card bases that's included in the kit, including the envelope, and trimming up some of the gorgeous printed paper. The coolest thing about this kit, if you haven't seen, is that the papers in it are really on their own, stand out, stunning quality papers. It's a set of papers from Kaiser Crafts at 6.5 by 6.5 inches. And I've trimmed them down to highlight and make cards. Anyway, the paper is just stunning. I've backed this specific marbled piece with some, what's it called? Cardstock. Some colored cardstock from my personal collection. If you haven't seen the unboxing of this kit, I will include right now in the card section the link to the unboxing, and I'll share as well the link to the first 2 of the 5 Fast Cards series, in which I create 5 cards using basically just the kit. Yes, I've added adhesive, I'm using my scissors, sometimes I pull in an ink pad, but it's oh, and yes, there's a handful of pieces of colored cardstock from my personal collection, but for the most part, I really am just using the supplies within the kit. As in this case, that ink I'm using right there, that's from the kit. It's a Scrapberry blue ink. It's their pigment ink, and it's actually a really cool little pigment ink. I've never actually been the biggest fan of pigment ink, but the more that I play around with these little cubes from Scrapberry, the more I can see that there really is a place for pigment ink within crafting. I am either a water-based ink girl or a ink that water can't affect. I think I've always steered away from the pigment ink because it smudges. You have to give it an actual moment to dry. But I've really gotten a kick out of it. My second card here, I wanted to go with super simple. I like this sentiment from the toppers that's included in the kit. The Sweet Life, I thought it was just on its own stunning. And this paper is one of the embossed reflective papers in the kit. And I just wanted to keep it simple. But I thought, you know what, I've got all this ribbon and lace that I haven't played with yet. Let's see if I can add the ribbon and the lace to the card and go from there. So I trimmed up a little bit of it, and needless to say, adhered it down with some double-sided adhesive tape. When I'm working with ribbon, I will not use a tape runner. I will make sure I use a double-sided adhesive because it really does the job and makes things stick. I don't trust a tape runner to actually maintain the hold that I need. I actually went to an even smaller piece of score tape or double-sided adhesive for the lace, so that way it would only be seen on that center piece where it's thicker, and the rest of the lace could in fact move a little bit. And whereas for the most of the cards I do in today's video I use the tape runner, here I am actually going to add the double-sided adhesive because it will make certain that the card remains on the card frame despite the slight bulk that the ribbon creates behind the card. And then I added the sentiment. I knew because of how I laid the ribbon out that I wanted to lay the first word and the third word of the sentiment flat and then pop up that middle word using a couple pieces of foam tape. I pulled out the little squares because I thought it would just float a little bit nicer. I wish I'd gone with a slightly lower profile adhesive square. See, sometimes the foam is thicker on some brands than on others, and I wish I'd gone with a slightly lower profile. I realized the card needed just a few more touches, so I pulled out the buttons and kind of played around with the buttons there to see if I could highlight and accent the sentiment and the ribbon in fun ways. I don't know if that dark blue big flowery button did the job I wanted it to do, but I do adore how the little traditional buttons ended up looking kind of tucked under that high raise sentiment. And there you go, there's card 2 today. Again, a very simple card, but I don't think it's boring. For card 3, I pulled out another one of the card frames included in the kit, and this is the last traditional card frame from this kit that I've used. I've now managed to use, I believe, all 3 of the traditional card frames. I think there was 3. See, I'm having trouble remembering because it's been a little bit since I started. But the teal color just wasn't enough. I knew it was going to be slightly boring if I didn't spruce up this card. So I pulled out one of the stamps from the stamp set included in the kit, and again, that scrapberry blue ink, and just added some floral's not the right word, but we're going to go with the word fauna. We're added some fauna. There's the other F word I was looking for, fauna. And so that the piece of paper that I was using as the focal image would blend into the background, I did end up distressing the edges with that pigment ink because now it all pulls together nicely. Here I get to show how bad I am at making bows. I think at this point in life I just need to buy pre-assembled bows and stop attempting to make my own bows. This may not be the worst bow I've ever made, but man, there's just people who have skills for this. I do take a lighter and burn, is that the word we want? Burn the edges of the ribbon, because otherwise you risk the chances of them fraying. I also stick a bit of glossy accents inside the ribbon to keep it from accidentally coming unbowed. I like to glue down. I really, really wanted to highlight the be yourself sentiment within the focal image, so I pulled out a distress marker and just kind of subtly highlighted and, I don't know, traced the box. And I feel like it helps that one sentiment pop up, because that's what I want everybody to really focus on, is that be yourself, everyone else is taken. Yes, there's a lot of little sentiments on this focal image, but the one I really wanted the eye to be drawn to is that be yourself one. To finalize the card, I added just a few sparkle blends, and I think it's the Sunset Rising. That's not right. But the Sparkle Blends kit is exclusive solely to the Blue Skies kit. Sunny Skies. It's called Sunny Skies. Yes, memory's working. I added just a few sequins to really highlight different portions of this card. Since I went ahead and stamped on the card, I wanted to go ahead and make sure I added some of that stamping to the envelope, so they're really nicely tied together. And I love how the little fauna peeked up over the bottom of the envelope. And there you go, there's card 3. Card 4, I wanted to play with the Aspire, okay, this is where I get yelled at because I always say it wrong. Metallics, haha, I did it. Metallics, I always want to say Petalix. Petalix paper. And I wanted to kind of use it in a way that I don't normally. I usually just use this solid color reflective metallic paper as a border or a mat for the pretty paper. And instead here I wanted to use it to help break up this lovely floral design, but just kind of create a whole new look and dimension. Yes, I put the score tape on the wrong side of the paper. Yes, you're watching me peel it off. Don't know how it worked. I usually rip paper to shreds by doing that. But I wanted to make sure I was using the right angles correctly, so that way the diagonal lines that I trimmed into the metallics paper. Yeah, I have to say metallic to say metallics. Don't ask, my brain doesn't work normally. But I wanted the paper to have this nice rhyme and rhythm to it. And it, like I said, just to have a slightly different feel. My son says I made it look like the card was in jail. I don't think the card looks like it's in jail. But according to a 13-year-old boy, the card looks like it's in jail. I, however, laid it down onto the card frame incredibly crooked and tried to pull it back up and only marginally tore the card. Yep, not perfect. In no way, shape, or form am I perfect. What should you take away from this? Don't worry. Mistakes happen. We all can get through them. I did add some of the adhesive foam squares to pop up the sentiment, just so it kind of was hovering above the whole effect. And I think the sentiment's just kind of, I just think it's fun. This is what it's really about. I had kind of intentionally meant to put more on this card, but I love the fact I didn't over-embellish it. I like the fact that we let the metallic paper do its own job. Card 5, I wanted to play around with a bunch of the sentiment papers that are in the kit. So I trimmed them up, and then using the scrapberry pigment ink, I distress the edges just so, because there's so many different shades of blue happening in these 4 different pieces, I figured that the scrapberry ink could pull everything together. So you can create, use different colors that don't necessarily matchy, and by distressing the edges with all the same color, it all pulls back in together and looks like it was a cohesive choice. I think it was a very effective working distressing all the edges here because everything just kind of pulled in. Now, what I'm hoping the person who receives this card sees is that it says right now, it's all good, right? Can you see it? Can you see how I centered it's all good and then I threw the right now? Please tell me you see it too, because that's what I was going for. My ribbon wasn't cutting, so I had to pull out like the big girl scissors. Big girl scissors did the job. And there you go. Finished card, again, super simple design, but because the paper is so gloriously beautiful, it's a pretty card. Now today, you get a bonus card, mainly because I forgot to use the shaker card and then realized it and didn't want to give up one of the designs I'd planned. So today you're getting a bonus card with your 5 fast cards. What I wanted to do is take this dark gloomy paper in the kit and make it look like a storm cloud. So I put the paper, and this was all that I had left of this paper, so I had to deal with just the strip as opposed to fully covering the front of the card. But I adhered it down, and then using my X-Acto knife, I trimmed out the cloud form and then adhered it down so that way when the card is closed, it looks like I haven't cut it. But then when you open it up, you realize that I have. I filled the cloud, of course, with the Sunny Skies sequin mix. Probably should have put more in there, but I was fighting static cling as it was and didn't want to risk having them stick to the tape. So now when you shake the little shakers, you see the storm cloud. And here's another play on fun sentiments that I tried. The first one says, for the record. The bottom one says, today I choose joy. And I wanted to play on what looks like a cloudy, stormy sky, and yet here I am choosing joy. Thanks for peeking in to the 3rd part in this series of 5 fast cards. There is, at the time of publishing this, maybe 2 kits left. So you want to make sure, if you want this kit, you go over to White Rose Crafts right now and get it. Otherwise, you are going to miss out on what is a very fun kit. Thanks for watching today, and until later, happy crafting.